Yeah, nice.
Wait, no, these are.
Oh, yeah?
I went to Denver.
You got a gambling problem?
Yeah.
I don't have what you have. So the safer route,
I think
I could
my
talk
kid
about that for 2 seconds. It's a quick, because I've already been telling
place up
Chelsea
there.
about it.
Very dingless.
Shouldn't
I'm
like
only
be
10 minutes away. I
recorded.
might as well go see what's going on. I came from
Get a
Akron.
beer, do a little bit of drinking?
Shouldn't that be
Yeah.
like
Well, I
recording?
only had one.
Or is that considered recording?
That wasn't-
If I hit this, it's saying,
I have better weapon.
Yeah, so I don't watch
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Yeah, you would think that would be, is
But
it
it-
connected to the social?
usually like when
Yeah,
we
I go to
get
city
I mean,
and
it
show
should
them.
be, that's on.
YouTube too.
Yeah, okay.
We have the city has a
It's saying live.
I usually,
Megan's coming
I
in the
think
back
they
door now.
email us with the.
Okay.
What are you looking for?
I guess, I mean, I can go on and see
how
what's
this
going on.
works.
Yeah.
Whenever I watch it, I just
Right on
Google
me.
city fire service service. Or
And it still will
YouTube,
back
do
their
a
hands
search
on that
there.
side.
That's perfect.
It still will be focused on you.
I'm only kidding.
So on our,
Yeah, if you look at it like that, it only focuses on the, who's talking, so.
Well then, I guess I'll get the majority.
6 o'clock, not 6:01.
Megan, I
You
know
know, it's
I
been
know
a
you're gonna
busy
miss me
day.
down there.
I know, Sal.
Three pieces of legislation.
We
I got
are,
two.
we
It's good
are
to see you.
live.
I got two.
We don't have any.
Out of sorts today.
Two out quick.
What's going on?
Yeah, we are live.
All right, I'd like to call this finance and legislation meeting to order. Mr. Burnside.
Here.
Mr. Ballack.
Here.
Mr. Bigley is here. We got two pieces. First one is from the clerk, and it is an ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the Struthers codified ordinance declaring an emergency. Need a motion to bring it out.
Motion to bring it out.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay. That is the first one. Rick, can you pass that? And the next one, a resolution authorizing the mayor to submit a grant application to the Ohio Department of Transportation for the development of a safe routes to school travel plan and declaring an emergency. Mayor, do you want to speak?
Yes, just briefly, this is the same thing we've been talking about for a while now. This was the ATP plan that we wanted to put into place to apply for safer routes, but this is the deadline we were waiting for because they gave us the plan late. So the deadline for this is March 1st. We're applying for 500,000, and that's no match, so nothing will be coming out of our fund. But that's something they need us to pass next meeting so they can have it for the application 2 days later. So we just made the cutoff. We have the plan has to be within the last 5 years. We're the only ones in the, I think, Tri-County area that has a new plan. So we should be able to get this money.
Anybody, any questions for the mayor?
Is this going to be for a targeted area in the city, or is it could be used for the whole city?
So this will be targeted. We had EDG go over a bunch of different places according to the plan. Lincoln, 9th, 8th, 5th Street, and adding a biking, walking, it's a multi-use path on 5th Street. So what we're planning is doing the 5th Street one first. So it would start at Creed and it would go all the way to as far as 500,000 will take us, and then next year we apply for another 500,000 and build onto that until the path is complete. But there are other areas that we went through. There a short strip on 9th that we can apply for CDBG. So we're trying to figure out what pots of money we can pull from where to target those key areas around the school. So this has to be school associated.
Now, on those, are we shortening the street, or are we adding to the sidewalk, removing
So
the devil
this-
strip? What is the thought?
This will be making, I believe it's an 8 or 10 foot path. So it'll be removing the sidewalks and adding a blacktop path on the side. I think it will take 2 feet off of the street because we would have to move the devil strip out, but I believe it's only 2 feet. So it's not enough.
But it's
anybody to
predominantly
notice.
we're enlarging the sidewalk area.
Yes. Yep.
Anybody, any questions? Motion to bring it out?
Motion to bring it out.
Second?
Second that.
That is it for legislation this evening. We have a guest here to speak, and that is Kristen from KO Consultants. Floor is yours, Kristen.
Excellent. So what you should have in front of you is our 2023 year in review. Secured means cash on hand exists within your coffer. 250,000 from the Appalachian Regional Commission that'll go towards your wastewater treatment plant upgrades. The assistant to the firefighters grant, that was 130,000 for air packs. And then pending has been submitted with high probability of coming in. I think you all saw the news on HB2, which is the splash pad. The 1.5 million, that will go towards downtown business renovations, plus additional bathrooms, water, sewer, a bunch of stuff around the river revitalization things. Eastgate, we've got a $29,000, $700 planning grant pending. Ohio EPA chloride reduction, that'll be for snow tractor removal, broom blades. March decision, community foundation, we're looking at doing a traffic garden. All the pendings will be announced by July 1 at the very latest. So we're looking at about a $2 million grant overhaul. I'm very confident that's where we'll finish fiscal year 23. Those were applied for in 23, which is why pending exists pending. I did want to talk a little bit about the economic development / miscellaneous activities. You did also receive an EPA targeted brownfield assessment, but EPA gets that money. That was to do some river testing and clean up right around where you were having some issues. Oh, that's your findings?
We got it we got it today.
Excellent. So that was a grant funding that came in, but the city doesn't see in your reserves. The EPA directly pays for those things. Then I have government affairs because I don't know, I wanted to make sure you know, your contract includes a government affairs representative in Columbus. I have a government representative affairs staff person on my team, and that also is that's how we've had the success in the Capitol bill. So what that looks like is, that means special pots of funds when we need to go down to front of the Ohio Department of Development, in front of the legislature, both the Senate and the House. This is a person who has extreme experience working on government relations and government affairs. He worked for Senator Portman's office for 12 years. Former retired Republican Senator Rob Portman. Very, very good understanding navigating federal and state funds. That's also a part of what we do. That's a service package we now offer. If you did due diligence and looked at a government affairs person, their contracts alone would be substantially more expensive than what we do. We provide it as an add-on service to all our clients because we realize the value of that. So you're getting a government affairs representative as well as the grants and economic development. That was important because when the mayor's going to Columbus and taking meetings with other state legislative members, other senators outside of our district, is also where the power in the state of Ohio's budget process lies. You want that representation. So that is a new feature that we rolled out tentatively in 2023. As a firm, it's been very successful for us. Everybody has appreciated that extra layer of assistance in a community and economic development sense. Our 2024 outlay, assuming that you want to keep working with us, is very wastewater treatment plant heavy, which means we've already discussed, pending your approval, some of that will be paid for from the wastewater treatment plant's budget. We've got a couple of huge grants that could essentially solve the majority. I don't want us to get out ahead of ourselves, but a very large pot of money is going to be available in November with no match that could solve most, if not all, of your wastewater issues and the stormwater pieces. We've got a lot to do. It's a very, very big application. By very, very big, I mean we could ask for up to 20 million. So obviously, with no match, that's a very large application. So that's why we have to get out ahead and start doing the things that are necessary on those applications. So that's sort of where we're at. Our tentative day to day, so you're aware, we get several requests from the police chief, the fire chief, street department, to just kind of, hey, this came out, can you get it in? Hey, this is just a sheet, will you do it? Hey, will you fill out? So that's all part, I wanna make sure that's, you're aware. We're also doing some compliance. We've done reporting on your air packs. So what comes in and showing that it's gone out, we're doing the reports on those things too. So it's not just the actual grant application, it's following it from start to finish, getting the prerequisites, getting the cost estimates, getting it in, receiving those funds, and then on the back end helping with reporting. So I think that's a valuable thing to understand. Every one of these applications requires a report. Did you spend it correctly? Did you have the use? So we've been doing that as well. It's just we believe that's part of the grant process. It's in the fine print of our contract. So I'd be happy to take any questions that you have at this point. Feel free.
Does anybody have any questions? Chris?
Yeah, what's the, for the government affairs, you said that's an added feature?
Yeah, no additional fee. It's just something that
Oh,
we're
okay.
doing now.
Okay.
As part within the structure of our contracts for the municipalities, nonprofits. So when you're looking at some of these, the capital budget, the operating budget, the state, those aren't direct grant applications. Those are like a 5-page sheet that you send to your state representative. You need them to support it, but you also need all 98 members of the Ohio House to support it, and all 32 members of the Senate district. So that is when we're going down and taking meetings with other legislators from the western part of the state, the southern part of the state, because we need their vote on our projects as well. So that's an added piece that we offer as a firm now.
I've seen that the governor is allocating money to each county, actually. Are we eligible for any of that money? I know it's for like rehab type stuff.
If you got me the specificity of the program, I would be able to tell you exactly what it is. Sometimes the county allocations have to go to the commissioners and then can whittle down. I'm not exactly
Yeah, I think you
familiar
said it
with
does
the
go to the
program that
commissioners,
you're
yeah.
speaking of right
Okay.
at this time.
Okay.
If
Chris,
I could,
go ahead.
well, you know I was not something to say.
Go ahead.
To your point, when you were asking about the government affairs, Josh, who works with Kristen, I've been down to Columbus twice now with them, and once recently with the chamber, and they do a good job. They have so many representatives down there, and when we meet with all of these different people from the state, they'll split up and they'll say, I'm gonna go to this meeting, you go to this meeting, Chad, you go to this meeting, so that we're reaching as many people as we can. So a lot of what she said, I learned this year what lobbying was. So it's a lot more in depth than I ever thought. And I don't think that Struthers has ever been on a capital budget or an operating budget before in the past. So if we get this is gonna be huge for us, because then we'll understand the process. But it's something I think we're gonna continue doing. But just for a lobbyist alone, we met with a couple and they wanted 5,000 just as a retainer, just to start. So this is we've been utilizing him a lot.
Okay. Kind of basically how this all came out, Kristen, was when we got your contract, I think some of us were confused, and me and myself included, because we were under the understanding that in past years, you got a percentage of the grant.
Sure.
And then it came to, you were doing more grants, and the administration had you going a lot more places on things that you may not get, so you guys needed some type of salary to move that forward. Are you still getting paid from a portion of the grants? Is it still at like a 10%?
No, because, and I'll explain, it's unless you're willing to pass a multi-fiscal year, it's too difficult for your accounting if I'm applying in 23 and the money comes in 24 and my contract ends in 23, I believe it's too complicated to do the percentage. And I've talked with a lot of other municipalities, and I've talked with a lot of other grant firms, both in the state and nationally, and that was just a difficult structure. Though what you're paying a month, what you would be paying in a monthly fee would not go over a percentage I would be taking. And I think it loses its incentive. Like, if I've got 1.5 million pending, why would I write any other grant for the city of Struthers?
I
So,
understand that to an extent,
but
but you,
I mean, if you wanna go down a percentage only contract,
No,
I would consider, but I really don't think there's a value in that for the amount of work we're doing month to month. And the amount of work it takes to put in these grant applications, that's just a really difficult road.
wouldn't it be so much more advantageous for you
Sure, but-
financially?
So, but is the city willing to take up to 100,000 on 10% of all grants received? No, this is more cost effective to the city. And it's why, like, for us being able to work with lots of other municipalities, if I came in and said, sure, sign a contract, give me 10,000, 10%, 5% on anything I'm receiving.
Sure.
You guys would owe me 5% ultimately on 2 million. Do you have the money for that?
Well, I think we were under the assumption that most of that would get built into the grant.
You can't write those in the grant.
Okay.
Like legally, and I would say do a little bit of research on what Girard schools try to do. They tried to write in percentages in the grants. On federal and state, you can't do it. Has to come out of your general fund, it's illegal. So it's just not, to me, it's not a structure that works considering how much money we're bringing in. It's not, if I wanted to take a percentage on, I mean, look, we received $14 million for our clients in 2022. Would I like to have a 10% of $14 million? Sure. That's just for municipalities, that's not a reality. For nonprofits, that's not a reality.
Yeah, I was just under the assumption that it was getting paid through the grant. So for us, it would make sense because now we have nothing paid out of our own, everything is paid
Well,
through the
you
grant.
don't when you go through with what you're getting into your departments and your cash flow. Like we explain, you're gonna pay us 36,000 for the year, you're gonna get tenfold back.
Right.
And you just have to be willing to make that investment. I mean, it's not up to me to make that
Again,
investment.
I don't think anybody here was questioning the service you provide or anything like that. And obviously, you've gotten a lot of grants. The administration you work great with, and you do a lot for them. I'm not really a micromanager as far as if you're doing good or if you're doing bad. That's kind of on the administration. Okay, my point comes into fiscally, which is kind of where it lies for me. I was again just under the assumption, and I'm not saying I have an issue with this. I was assuming you were making far more money
No.
than this, being that I was assuming it was getting paid through, most of it getting paid through portions of the grant.
No, I mean, we've created it turnkey for municipalities and on grants it's a volume. So I would rather have 50 clients at smaller contracts than take percentages. That's just
Sure.
my business.
But
mode
I
of
think you're
operation.
right, because one of the selling points was that they were getting paid through the grant.
Yeah.
Now, this is, for these services, I'll be honest, these are relatively small bills.
Sure, oh, yeah.
But let's be realistic. Last year, what we paid, I was under the assumption, again, they were getting paid larger sums of money through the grant process.
Well, the power application did pay for ourselves, which I think the mayor has a breakdown
Yeah.
of. That was paid for completely out of a grant.
That's this form you have in front of you. So on here, it says that we paid KO 81,000 in 2023. But when you split it up, the first one was a carryover from the year before. So that one doesn't take into consideration. And then if you break down the power planning, that was separate. That's what we used for the website for the comprehensive plan we took out of there. So that's something that we got 50,000 and had that same contract with her. So that's completely separate. So on her regular contract, it added up to 27,450. For the power was 36,943, but then we paid for that website for the comprehensive plan, and the remaining comprehensive plan was 13,678. So
Okay.
when you split it up, we won't have that this year. We won't have the power, we won't have the comprehensive plan. And talking with Chrissy about it, we have such the paper I just had passed around, we have such ambitious goals for wastewater this year that we're gonna also split that up. So she's gonna have two separate, hopefully, we have two separate invoices where it's gonna bill wastewater as well as
Our general fund.
our general fund.
Okay.
So that'll be something that we won't see coming out of our general fund too, because if you look that over, that's gonna be a heavy pool this year. We meet with every department at the end of the year and go over, and if you see my board, all of their wants and needs. And then anytime something comes up with the comprehensive plan, we're able to plug in where we can apply and what we can apply and how to get that money. That's why, like with this bill that we were just down, the only thing we had that fit what they were asking was the splash pad. Now I know that's not a need, but it is a want, and it's something that we had ready to go, so we were able to plug that.
High
in.
priority.
Yes, yes.
Let's say that, you know.
But that's what I'm saying, we have to pool that, so we do meet with all the departments, but the wastewater it's a very ambitious schedule this year. So
Yeah.
it won't even be the 36 coming out of general fund.
To be honest, I'm taken back by what I thought prior to this and after you coming in today. So, I mean, I know that you obviously do a great job for us and everything like that. I just assumed that you were getting paid on both fronts.
You have to be able to have it in your general fund, and none of them,
I understand.
with all due respect, not even just the Struthers, we have other municipal clients that they couldn't sign a contract where we were taking a percentage unless they had the dollars to be able to pay us.
Yeah.
And
That
for
money-
me, that's not even where, like, our volume just comes in our scope of how much we have going on. I'm pulling an all-nighter tonight to finish a grant, so it's just,
Yeah, it
you
makes
love
sense.
it, you do it, you enjoy it. So, and Struthers gets a Struthers discounted rate too. If you look at the news of any other municipality that's come on board, their contracts are higher.
So-
And I know I'm on the internet saying that, but I'll
But
live and die by that.
Being realistic, if you look through this year's contract, your total not to exceed monthly is maybe $500 different than last year,
If that.
if that. Okay. So we're not even.
Yeah.
I just was under the assumption that we were paying this and paying through the grant.
Right.
And however, and let me just remind you, we are on critical spending and have been very touchy about what raises we can give and everything else. So for me to freely say, no problem, we'll up this, we at least needed to look into it and make sure
Sure,
that.
yeah, get an explanation.
Yes.
And I would say if we don't come back and deliver the volume, I would expect you to sever the contract. I say that to everybody, because you're not a good grant writer if your premise is, this is what you're paying, we better be bringing back 2, 3, 4, 5 times that.
Correct.
So I would anticipate, I do this with every board, every nonprofit, every client we have, and I go, I don't expect to see retained next year if we didn't deliver again.
For sure.
And I don't, so that's a valuable use of public funds. I wouldn't expect somebody to pay us for multiple years and not bring any funds in, so.
Absolutely. But you understand obviously our line of questioning because
Oh,
this is how we
absolutely.
have to,
Absolutely.
we don't just, at least I try not to make it a point to just sign and give more money without, I have 10,000 people to answer to.
And I also would say too, I would maybe consider a percentage is a better option if I was by myself. But I have a payroll to make. I have 10 employees. So for
Sure.
me, percentage is so hard because then when do you get it? When the cash is on hand or when we're awarded? Because you get awarded,
A year prior.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's always the complexity of it too. If I was a one-man band, I might be like, yeah, sure, I'll roll the dice.
That makes sense.
But it's too complicated when you're, and don't forget my business is located here, so when you get to income tax.
So we do get 2% back.
Yeah, facts.
Okay, anybody else, any more questions for Kristen?
Well, not necessarily for Kristen. Mayor, this wastewater treatment budget, does anything have to do with the creek on Judith Lane area? Is
Oh, yeah,
any-
we're doing that second study. We're already in the process. We're waiting for DLZ to give us an updated quote, and we're starting that this year. We have it in the budget to do. We searched literally every avenue we possibly could
Okay.
to no avail. So we were able to talk with Chrissy, and we're getting that complete this year. Then after that, it will be easier for us to go after implementation dollars, which is gonna be a much larger grant ask, but we've already been talking to the legislators about
Okay.
that, they know that ask is coming.
Okay, thank you.
My good to.
If anybody else have any questions for Kristen?
Go write your grants.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Chris.
Thank
my
you, Chris.
pleasure. And you guys know Struthers, you know, I live here. It's
You
not
do?
like I
You
do.
do?
I do. Like, so it's not like I have a vested interest in seeing this be successful.
I agree. Thanks for coming in,
Thank you.
Kristen.
Thank you.
Okay, who got what else for this committee? Right?
I'm ready. So, I'm Brian Higgins from Team Office. I know almost all of you here, but my subject's a little bit lighter. So I'm here to, the mayor called and said, hey, we're having problems with the camera and the video and the streaming and all of that. So we brought this, it's called the Owl, kind of looks like an owl for it, but it's a panoramic camera, and it's got a panoramic microphone. So it goes and it uses AI, you hear about that all the time, but it will actually, when someone starts talking, it'll start focusing on you. And I'll show you this, but in order for me to show you this, I have to unplug it from the streaming, so we have to stop the streaming if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. So let me.
So if you want to get seen, cough a lot.
That's right.
You want me to go ahead and stop it?